Hello students, this is Manjunath Pujar. Today I am here again to give you the idea about another interesting DBMS lab assignment. This assignment focuses on the data related to the college. When I say the data is related to the college, they are not taking the entire data about the college. They are just taking the part of the data of the college. Then what part of the data they are taking and giving the tables that we're going to see. So by looking at the title of this particular assignment, this assignment is having the title which maintains the data about student enrollment in courses, books adopted by each course. That means this database stores the data about enrollment information. Means which student enrolled for which course. That information they want to maintain. Along with that, which course adopts which textbook. In order to maintain these two information, they had designed this particular assignment. Now we will just have a look at the tables so that we get some basic idea. Student, as the name itself says, this maintains the information about the student data like registration number, name, major and birth date. Again, course ID, course name, department. But the important part of this particular assignment is enroll. As I told you, this database maintains the information about enrollment. That means which student enrolled for which course. That's why this enrollment table is having the information about registration number of the student table, course ID of the course table, so that we can get the information about which student enrolled for which course. Along with that, it maintains the information about semester and marks. Next, we have the text table. In this text table, they are maintaining the information about textbooks like book ISBN, textbook title, publisher, author of the textbook. But second important data to be maintained in this assignment is book adoption. That means which course adopts which textbooks. So that's why this table is also having the two information, course ID of the course table, book ISBN of the text table. With the help of these two columns, we can get the information about which course adopts which textbooks. So to maintain these two information, enrollment information and book adoption information, this assignment has been designed and they had given some queries so that we can access the data from the assignment. Now our first and foremost job is to draw an ER diagram. I told you many times in my previous videos also, we are actually following the correct procedure of drawing the ER diagram first, then later we are going to map that ER diagram to the table structure. But in the assignment, as the tables are already provided, by looking at the tables, primary keys and foreign keys, we are going to draw an ER diagram. That means we are going the reverse way. But this is not actually correct procedure. But to get a clear idea, we need an ER diagram. That's why we are drawing ER diagram. So now before we see the ER diagram, first we will have a look at which are the primary keys and foreign keys in these respective tables. In the student table, registration number is the primary key which uniquely identifies the student. In course table, we have the course ID which uniquely identifies the course information. Even we have the choice of course name also, but according to this prescribed, they are given course ID. That's why we will go with the course ID only. And coming back to the enrollment, here we are having semester which is underlined, but do not get confused. We cannot make semester as the primary key. Why? While explaining. So while explaining the idea, so I will give you the why we are not able to make this semester as the primary key. But at present, you just understand semester is not a primary key. But in this table, we are having registration number, course ID as the foreign keys, which refers student and course tables. Now text, in that we are having the book ISBN as the primary key, And in the book adoption table, we are having the course ID and book ISBN. These two as the foreign keys which are referring the text as well as the course. Now we get to know the basic idea about the primary keys and foreign keys. Our next job is to understand the ER diagram so that we get the better understanding of the idea behind this particular assignment. Let me show you the ER diagram. Okay, so this is an ER diagram, which is the handwritten ER diagram. This ER diagram gives us the idea behind this particular assignment. In the assignment, 5 tables are there. Among the 5 tables, 3 tables we identified as an entity, 2 tables we identified as a relationship. So by looking at this ER diagram, you can easily point out. So student, course, text. These 3 tables identified as an entity in ER diagram. So in my previous videos, I told you what is an entity. Entity, it is the real world object with the conceptual or physical existence. So now when we look at the student is the real world object with the physical existence. Course is also a real world object with the conceptual existence. Textbook is also a real world object with physical existence. Whereas enroll and book adoption, these two are relationships. Even I told relationship, it is an association between two or more entities to give the new information. So in order to get the information about the enrollment, we need the information about student as well as the course. Why? Because which student enrolled for which course. To get that information, obviously we need student as well as the course. In the same way, which course adopt which textbooks. Again, to get the information about book adoption, which course adopt which textbook. That's why we need again two information, course as well as the text. That's why there is a relationship between course as well as the text. So this is a basic idea about the entities and relationships. Now, whereas the attributes, as usual, the common, there is a registration number, name, major, birth date. Course is having course ID, name, department. So text is having book ISBN, author, title, publisher. Whereas these two, the enrollment and book adoption, these two are the relationships. As enrollment is having the 4 attributes, among the 4 attributes, 2 attributes are the foreign keys. One point I would like to make it very clear, we cannot show the foreign keys in the ER diagram. This one I would like to make it very clear to everyone, because this relationship is going to be mapped as a foreign key during the creation of the tables. That's why we will not represent the foreign keys in the ER diagram. No ER diagram represents foreign keys. Okay, so with that's why enroll, it is having the no doubt 4 attributes are there, but 2 attributes are the foreign keys. That's why it is not represented. Remaining 2 attributes we have shown marks as well as the semester. In the same way, in the book adoption also we are having the 3 attributes. 2 are foreign keys. That is, here the semester is represented. Now one more idea over here is m is to n. M is to n. I have shown the cardinality ratio. This cardinality ratio tells us what kind of the data we are supposed to store into the table. Now let us see what is m is to n. So now one student can enroll for one course. Meaning is, now we suppose if we take an example of a BCA, you are all the students of BCA. Okay, one student can enroll for the one course, that is a BCA. Say for example, Saurav enrolled for BCA course. Here 1 is to 1. One student enrolled for one course. But in reality, there is a provision according to the university UGC criteria. A student can enroll for more than one course. You might be surprised how. Okay, according to the open distance learning, that is a distance learning concept or the open university concept, one student can enroll for one course in regular mode university, and even he can opt for one more course in the distance learning or in the open university. That means a student can opt for more than one course. That's why. So while specifying the cardinality ratio from the student, I can say one student can enroll for more than one course. Say for example, one student, says Saurav, enrolled for BCA course in Karnataka University. Saurav enrolled for another certificate course in IGNO, that is Indira Gandhi National Open University. And because of that, Saurav enrolled for two courses. That's why I read it as one student can enroll for more than one course. This is from student side. Again, when it comes to the course, one course for which many students have been enrolled. This is obviously true. There is a no course with only one student, right? So that's why. So every course is enrolled by many students. That's why from the course side also one course enrolled by many students. So when we can read out 1 is to n from both side, that time the cardinality ratio is going to become m is to n. That's why I have shown it as the m is to n. This is the case for this. Again, coming back to the course and text, here also we have the cardinality ratio as m is to n. What is the meaning of that? One course can adopt many textbooks. One course, here you can say BCA. So BCA is having obviously 6 semesters. For every semester we are having the 5 subjects. That means nearly 6 into 5, 30 textbooks. For BCA course, 30 textbooks. That means BCA course adopt 30 textbooks. That's what the meaning of that. One course adopts many textbooks. That's what the meaning of that. So now from the textbook side, one textbook is adapted by many courses like that. So example is database management system. This is the subject which is adapted by BCA course, which is adapted by BSCCS course, which is adapted by even MSc Computer Science MCA course. That means same textbook is adapted by many courses. So again here also from both side we are getting the 1 is to n cardinality ratio. That's why it is here, it is also m is to n. So this cardinality ratio helps us in understanding what kind of the data we can store into our the tables. So with this basic idea, and one more thing, while specifying the attributes, you need to clearly mention the key attribute by underlining, and there is a no need to specify foreign keys. These 2 points you need to remember it properly. So now we'll come back to the assignment. So now we got some basic idea. So now we will go ahead with the execution of this assignment. The first step is create the above tables by properly specifying primary key and foreign key. So now we have already identified. So let me start with the creation of the tables. So we'll start with the creation of the tables. As this is a new database, create database. This maintains the information about student enrollment. That's why I'm giving the name as stud underscore enroll, name of the database. Then I'm going to use this database for my further creation of the tables. Okay, so now let us start creation of the tables one by one. Now first table, creating the student table. Creation of the student table. We'll go ahead with the creation of the student table. Okay, so in the student table, the registration number is the primary key, name, major and birth date, and do not forget to specify engine equal to INNODB, because this engine makes us to work that foreign key concept properly. If you do not specify engine equal to INNODB properly, so that time the foreign key will not work properly in this particular MySQL. So now second table, we will go ahead with the second table. In the second table, it maintains the information about the course. So in the course, again we are going with the course table. In the course table, again we are having the course ID as the primary key and course name followed by department. Next I will go ahead with the third table, enrollment table. And in the enrollment table we are having 4 attributes. Among the 4 attributes, 2 attributes are foreign keys. So registration number, course ID are the foreign keys. That's why we had mentioned those two as the foreign key at the end. Then again we're having the semester and marks as the and the two attributes. So now again we will move ahead with the next table. There's the fourth table. Fourth table is about text. That's the textbook information. So in the textbook information we're having the book ISBN. We'll go ahead, book ISBN. So in the text we are having the book ISBN as the primary key, then book title, publisher, author information, and the last table is about the book adoption. And in the book adoption also there's two attributes which are foreign keys. Okay, so now we have created five tables with properly specifying primary key and foreign key. Now again we will move ahead with the next part of the assignment, that is enter at least five records in each table. So before entering the records into the table, as I told you many times, we need to look at the queries or the question they had asked. Okay, so the question is how you added new textbooks. Okay, no problem. Produce a list of textbooks. Here the question is interesting. Produce a list of textbooks in the alphabetical order for the courses offered by the CS department that use more than two books. That means here they had included clearly CS department is there, and they want to make this CS department to adopt more than two textbooks. That means we need to enter a data in our table such that the CS department should adopt more than two textbooks. Then only we are able to get the output for this query. And the last one, list any department that has its adopted books published by specific publisher. Here we do not have any specific requirements. Only the fourth query expects the data should be like this only. Okay, so now again we will move ahead with entering of the records by keeping this in mind. So now we will enter the records one by one. The first table is related to the student table. So student table, okay, so five records have been added into the student table. Next I will move ahead with the next course table. I will add the record into the course table. So again third table is about enrollment. Enrollment, in that again we are going to add the five records. Okay, so enrollment information. Fourth table is about textbook. I will add records into the textbook table. Okay, so textbook. Something has been missed, let me check. Okay, so in the last query there is a single quote is missing, so I will add that and re-execute that last insert statement. So that record also got added. Next last table is about book adoption, so we will add records into the book adoption. So in the book adoption we will add five records. Okay, perfect. So now we will see, before we proceed with further queries, let us see what kind of the data I have added so far. In the student table you can see I have added the student information, registration number, name, major subject opted by the student, and birth date of the student. So Rajiv, Kumar, Pradeep, Sanjay, Praveen, Raj are the six students with the different major subjects like computer, electronics, information, mechanical, then respective the departments. So next we will go ahead with the course information, and I'm going to make it very clear, this particular assignment focus on engineering college. That's why data is also related to the engineering only. Okay, so now coming back to the course, here the one two three totally six courses. So as I told you, this particular data is about engineering college. That's why we are having the computer science engineering, information science engineering, electrical, electronics, mechanical, civil, and respective departments. Computer science, information science, both are related to the CS department only. then electrical E&D department, electronics department, civil department. So this is about the course, and the next information about which student enrolled for which course. So now we can see the student's enrollment information. 1CS001, he enrolled for course 1. The course 1 is what? Computer. So first one is Raju, he enrolled for the course 1, that is the computer department. He is in semester 3 and his marks is 200. Like that, we are supposed to enter the data for each and every student. 1EC002, he has enrolled for the course 4. 4 is nothing but electronics department. So this student enrolled for which course? Electronics course. And his semester is 5th, like that, 300. This is the way how we have added the data according to the table structure. So these first three tables maintains the information about which student enrolled for which course. Next, I will move ahead with the fourth table, that is text. In the text, we can get the idea about which are the textbooks that are available. So now you can see book I spent totally 6 textbooks, computer network, VLSI design up to operating system and respective publisher information, Tata, Pearson, Wiley, and respective authors. This is the information about text. And the last table is about book adoption. Which course adopts which textbooks? Which course adopts which textbooks? Now you can see course 1, it adopts book 1. Course 1 is what? CS department. Course 1 is what? Computer. Computer adopt textbook 1, that is the computer networks. This is what the meaning of this. Next, course 2, it adopts second textbook. Course 3, it adopts third textbooks. Like that, 6 different courses adopt 6 different textbooks. Now this is the data which we have entered in our tables. Our next job, we need to see. So now we have created the tables. Now we have added at least 5 tuples in each tables. Then our next job is to go with the demonstrate how you add a new textbook to the database and make this book be adopted by some department. This query is very simple. What they had said, demonstrate how you add a textbook to the database. That meaning is what? We need to add one new record into the text table. Meaning of that is we are adding a new textbook information. And what is the next step? Make this book be adopted by some department. That means we need to make one more entry into the book adoption so that that newly added textbook is adopted by that new course. This is what the meaning of this. That's why for that query, here you can see insert into text. That means I'm adding the new textbook. I'm adding the new textbook. Adding the new textbook. I'm adding a new textbook. I'm adding a new textbook. That is a textbook number 7, Computer Networks Part 2. So publisher is McGraw-Hill and author is Andrew Tannenbaum. And this textbook has been added. Then the same textbook should be adopted by some course. So for that, again, I'm adding the one more. So I'm executing one more query, that is book adoption. Book adoption. So now this query's requirement got over. That means demonstrate how you add a new textbook. This is the demonstration of how you add new textbook. There is a 7 textbook has been adopted. And demonstrate how you adopt this textbook to the some particular course. Here you can see. So course 1 adopts this particular textbook number 7. The idea is very simple. That's why by executing to insert statement will complete the requirement of that particular query. Again, I will add one more textbook, that is so that in our upcoming query it will help us. I'm adding the one more textbook, that is textbook number 8. Textbook number 8. So here I'm adding actually 2 textbook. One textbook I have already added now. Next textbook I'm adding, there's the 8th textbook. And this textbook also I want to adapt it to the one particular course. This textbook also I want to adapt it to some course. Okay, So now this textbooks also got adapted. Now we can see, now you can see the two additions we have made, that is the 7th and 8th. So the new textbooks have been adapted. So now we'll move again ahead with the next concept. Book adoption. So we have adapted the two textbooks. I think okay. Slight changes I want to make. Second column is slight change. Okay. So let me delete those two records because columns have been interchanged. So to delete the records, so delete from book adoption. Delete from book adoption. Delete from book adoption. Where Sam in 7,8 because 7,8 is adapted for the semester. Okay, so now again re-execute the same query because that time you get the idea. Only the book adoption changes because the columns have been interchanged. So now again re-execute those two queries once again. Re-execute the queries once again. Okay, so now we can see again. Yes, now it's perfect. So course 1, it adopts the textbooks 1 and 7, and course 2, it adopts the two textbooks 2 as well as the 8. So this is what we actually required for our upcoming query. So perfectly alright. Now we will move ahead with the next one. Next important question is what they had asked. So now we can see produce a list of textbooks. What their expectation is, produce a list of textbooks. So they want to display the course ID information, they want to display book ISBN information, they want to display book title information in the alphabetical order for the courses offered by the CS department and that use more than 2 books. This is what their requirement. So now to get an idea of this particular case, so first I will display the table information. So book adoption is already is there. So I want to display one more information because their expectation is CS department. So now we will see the CS department. The question is CS department. Okay, CS department is having the two courses, that is 1 as well as the 2. Okay, so with the CS department, okay, by looking at this table course, we get the information about CS department. Using this CS department information, we need to take the information about course ID 1 and 2. By taking this course ID 1 and 2, we need to go to the book adoption table. In the book adoption table, we get to know whether this CS department adopted 2 or more books or not. Now we will see course ID 1, again coming back to the course ID 1, and here also course ID 1. Okay, no doubt course ID 1, it has adopted 2 textbooks 1 as well as the 7. Perfectly correct. Next we are having the course ID 2. Course ID 2 is also, it adopted 2 textbooks, that is a 2 as well as 8. Now according to our requirement, it's perfectly correct. So here now we got the information. So CS department with the course ID 1 and 2, these two has adopted the 2 textbooks. But what information they want to display as the output? So let us see. They want to display output as the course ID. Okay. They want to display output as a book ISBN. Okay. And book title. Okay. So now book ISBN, book title information. When we look at these two tables, in the book adoption, we are having the information about which course adopted which textbooks. But we do not have the information about what book title as well as the book title information, because book ISBN information we are able to get it, course ID information we are able to get it by looking at these two tables. but we are not getting the information about the textbook title. Textbook title is present in book title. Okay, I repeat, in order to get an idea about this particular query, their question is CS department. They start with CS department. Okay, so in the CS department, they wanted to know which is the course belong to CS department. Okay, so the course ID 1 and course ID 2. With this course ID 1 and course ID 2, we need to check whether these two courses adopted more than 2 textbooks or not. Yes, that we will check with book adoption table. So here we came to the book adoption table. In this book adoption, course ID 1, it adopted 2 textbooks. Course ID 2, it also adopted 2 textbooks. Okay, so now perfectly all right. So these two tables helps us in getting that information, but these two tables is not allowing or not having the information about book title. So in order to get the book title information, again by taking this book title here, book ISBN 1 and book ISBN 7 for the course ID 1, and book ISBN 2 and book ISBN 8. With these two, this 4 information, again by taking this book ISBN information, I will move to the text table. So course book ISBN 1 and book ISBN 2, these two are textbooks, and 7 and 8, these two are the textbooks. So in our output, what output we are supposed to get? We need to get the output as course ID 1 and 2 and textbooks titles as 1, 2, 7, 8. This is the expected output. Now we will go ahead to write the query. So before we go ahead to write the query, we need to understand how to write the query. Okay, so this table has information about whether the course is having 2 or more books adopted or not. So to get that information, whether this course adopted 2 or more books, which course adopted more than 2 textbooks or not, to get that information, I'm writing here select course ID from book adoption, select course ID from book adoption, group by, because by grouping only I get to know whether that course adopted more than 2 textbooks or not. So based on what we are supposed to group, based on the course ID only we are supposed to group, because course adopted 2 textbooks, course ID adopted 2 textbooks. That's why, so I need to group this records based on the course ID. Here, what is the condition? Having what? Count of course ID is greater than or equal to 2. Okay, perfectly right. So this query tells us which course adopted 2 or more books in this particular book adoption. So obviously course 1 and 2 adopted 2 or more books in the book adoption table. So this part of the query we are going to use it for an entire query. Okay, so now what is an entire query? Now we will have that particular entire query. I will copy this entire query, then I will explain that entire query part by part. Okay, so let me show that. Now here you can see this entire query. When I execute this entire query, here this is an information: course ID, course name, book ISBN, book title. Course ID is 1 1, so course name is computer, and book ISBN are 1 and 7, and book title are computer networks and computer networks part 2. Again course ID 2 with the information signs as the course name, and 288 as the book ISBN and with respect to this particular book title. So now what this query is all about? Okay, in order to have the information, we are actually referring the 3 tables. But why we are referring these 3 tables? To get the information about course ID, book ISBN and book title. But here I had included one more information also, that's the course name. course name is separately there in the course table. That's why in order to display the information about course ID, course name, book ISBN, book title, we need the information from the four different tables so that we can get the output. Obviously, so in order to get the output like that, select the distinct c.course ID, c.name, b.book ISBN, t.book title. So from the course C, text T, book card option B, where c.course ID equal to b.course ID, d.book ISBN equal to t.book ISBN, and c.department equal to CS department, and c.course ID in, like this. So you might be wondered and we might be confused what this query is all about. So in order to quickly give you the idea, ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಒಂದು ಐಡಿಯಾ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಟೇಬಲ್ಸ್ ಈ ಕ್ವರಿ ನೋಡ್ರಿ. ನೀವು ಕ್ವರಿ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೆ ಏನ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಔಟ್ಪುಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಏನ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ? ಸಿ ಡಾಟ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಐಡಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಯಾಕೆ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀನಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಆಲ್ಟರ್ನೇಟಿವ್ ನೇಮ್ ಫಾರ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಸಿ. ಆಲ್ಟರ್ನೇಟಿವ್ ನೇಮ್ ಫಾರ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಸಿ. ಸಿ ಡಾಟ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಐಡಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಡಾಟ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಐಡಿ ಬದಲಾಗಿ ಸಿ ಡಾಟ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಐಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಯಾಕೆ? ಇನ್ಸ್ಟೆಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ಎಂಟೈರ್ ಟೇಬಲ್ ನೇಮ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ನೋಟೇಶನ್. ಓಕೆ, ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಐಡಿ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ನಂಗೆ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಬಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಟೇಬಲ್ ನೇಮ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ? ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಐಡಿ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಎರಡು ಮೂರು ಟೇಬಲ್ ದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಅದನ್ನ ಫೆಚ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂದಾಗ ಯಾವ ಟೇಬಲ್ ಇಂದ ಫೆಚ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ವಿ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ದ ಟೇಬಲ್ ನೇಮ್. ದಟ್ಸ್ ವೈ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ಮೆನ್ಷನ್ ಮಾಡಲೇಬೇಕು. ಇದನ್ನ ಮಾಡಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬರೀ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಐಡಿ ಅಂತ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಬರೆದ್ರೆ it will generate an error saying that from which table we are supposed to refer course ID. That's why ಒಂದು ಕಾಲಮ್ ಎರಡು ಅಥವಾ ಎರಡಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಟೇಬಲ್ ದಲ್ಲಿ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ if the column is there in two or more table, that's why in that time we are supposed to clearly mention that column with the table name. That's why c dot course id. Okay, comma c dot course name. Next b dot book ISBN. ಯಾವ ಟೇಬಲ್ ಇಂದ ಯಾವ ಕಾಲಮ್ ನ ರೆಫರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೋಸ್ಕರ we are using the c dot course id, comma c dot course name, b dot book ISBN and t dot book title. ಈ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ನೀವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಟೇಬಲ್ ನೇಮ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಯು ಗೆಟ್ ಟು ನೋ ಯಾವ ಕಾಲಮ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ನ ಯಾವ ಟೇಬಲ್ ಇಂದ ರೆಫರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ನಮಗೆ ಟೇಬಲ್ಸ್ ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಟೇಬಲ್ ಇಂದ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಇಂದ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ವಿಚ್ tables are required to display the information. So obviously ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ್ದು ಬೇಕಿಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಟೇಬಲ್ ಬೇಕು, ಬುಕ್ ಅಡಾಪ್ಷನ್ ಟೇಬಲ್ ಬೇಕು, ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಟೇಬಲ್ ಬೇಕು. ದಟ್ಸ್ ವೈ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಫ್ರಾಮ್ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ ಯಾವ ಟೇಬಲ್ ಇಂದ. ಸೊ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಟೇಬಲ್ ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಬುಕ್ ಅಡಾಪ್ಷನ್ ಟೇಬಲ್. ಓಕೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೆ ನಮ್ದು ಏನಾಯ್ತು ಯಾವ ಕಾಲಮ್ಸು ಯಾವ ಟೇಬಲ್ ಇಂದ. ಅಪ್ ಟು ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್. ಇದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವೆರಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕಾಯ್ತೇನು, ಯಾವಾಗ ನಾವು ಮೂರು ಅಥವಾ ಎರಡಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಟೇಬಲ್ ರೆಫರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಎರಡು ಅಥವಾ ಎರಡಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಟೇಬಲ್ ರೆಫರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಂದಾಗ ಆ ಟೇಬಲ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಮನ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಯಾವ್ದಿರುತ್ತೆ ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕು. ವಿ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಟೇಕ್ ದ ಕಾಮನ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ and that common field should be a primary key in one table and should be foreign key in the other table. ಅದೇ ತಕ್ಕಂಗೆ so we are taking the first condition because when we are referring the two or more tables, the first condition should be like this: c dot course id equal to b dot course id, because course and book adoption, these two have the common field as the course id. That's why course id is the primary key in course table and course id is foreign key in the book adoption table. That's why we are taking this as the first condition. Next, we are having the another combination, that is the b dot book ISBN equal to t dot book ISBN. So here book ISBN is the primary key in the text table and foreign key in this there. That's why after the first specifying the table names, our first job is to specify the condition specify ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂದಾಗ this is the first condition we are supposed to take. ಎಷ್ಟು ಟೇಬಲ್ಸ್ ರೆಫರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ಆ ಟೇಬಲ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಮನ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಯಾವ್ದಿದೆ ಅದ್ರ ತಕ್ಕಂಗೆ ನಾವು ಸ್ಪೆಸಿಫೈ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು. that we had specified. Next we have to move ahead with their condition. ಏನ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದರೆ department compulsorily CS department, because we are having so many other departments. CS department is there, mechanical department, there is civil department, there's so many departments, but our condition is CS department. So we are taking the CS department as the condition. Okay, so well and good. Up to this it is clear. Next part is we need a course ID information. We need a course ID information. That course ID should have adopted two or more textbooks, and that query I have written as the internal query. Just now I have shown part of that query here. This is the part of that query. This query gives us the information about which course ID adopted two or more books. So once this internal query executed, this 1 and 2 got replaced here. So 1 and 2 got replaced here. C dot course ID in 1 comma 2 and order by C name, because they have said so the record should be arranged in alphabetical order of the course names. That's why C dot C name, order by C dot C name. That's why computer is first listed, then information is listed later. This is the query about the fourth one. So if you are having still confusion, so you can contact me later. And the last one is list any department that has adopted books published by a specific publisher. This query is also very simple. So in this query, what they're trying to say, they want to display the department information, and that department we need to check with what kind of the textbooks. Say for example, list any department that has its adopted books published by specific publisher. Okay, so before again I show that particular output, so I will show you the tables information. Select star. We are having the publisher information in text table. Okay, so in the text table we get to know the publisher's information, but actually what is their expectation? Their expectation is they want to display the department information. So in order to get the department information, we need the course ID. So that course ID information we are able to get in book adoption. Okay, now you can see Tata. So Tata publisher, if I take an example as a Tata publisher, Tata 1 2 3 4, four records. So book ISBN is 1 2 4 5. With this 4 book ISBN information, I'll come to this particular table 1 2 book ISBN 4 and 5. So we have to see 1 2, these two, again 4, that is 4, and 5 is the 6. Okay, so we get to know the information about course ID here, but we do not want actually the course ID information. What we actually want, we want the department information. Again, taking this information, we need to go to the table. Which table? We need to go to the course table. Okay, so in the course table we get to know the department. See, 1 2 1 2, these two is having CS department. Obviously we are going to display CS department. Then again 4 4 5 6, that means 4 and 6, 4 and 6 electronics and civil department totally. So I am supposed to display how many department information here? CS department, then mechanical department and civil department. So I should get output as these 4 records information. So now we will see. So as I have shown, the 4 tables we are referring to get, oh, sorry, 3 tables we are referring to get the information. So let me execute the query. Let me execute that query. Okay, so as I told you, we are having this information: CS department, then electronics department, then civil department. This is the output. Then what is the query? So here select distinct. Why I have used distinct? See, suppose if I remove that distinct keyword, so what output we are able to get? Because You should understand the meaning of that distinct. Even I told you once. Now you can see here the CS department is repeated twice. That's why instead of displaying the repeatedly in the information, we are displaying with the distinct. That's the only difference. Apart from that, everything is perfectly fine. See here we need the department information. That's why I'm select department. From how many tables we are referring to get that information. Three tables we are referring: book adoption, course, and text. So the first condition is when we are trying to combine two or more tables, we are taking the common fields in both tables. So here we have taken the common condition, and the required condition is the specific publisher. This is the specific publisher, that is the Tata, and this is an expected output. So with this, so I had tried to explain all concept. This has a little bit lengthy. It has taken so much of time. So this much time is required to understand the assignment properly. Again, if you get any kind of the doubts, any problems in understanding the queries, so you can contact me at any time, but this is compulsorily to go through these all concepts before you execute the query. So with this I will conclude this particular session. So thank you all.